ask yourself, why do I binge eat? Does it ever feel like you just keep doing the same thing over and over again, no matter how hard you try? You and I both know that if you could stop yourself from overeating, you would do it. It's not your fault. There's something bigger at play. And that's why today I'm going to be talking about the reasons why you're binge eating so that you can have more insight and understanding into the way your body works and the way your psychology works and better understand your binge eating cycle. Now, stay tuned until the end of this video and you can learn how you can snag my guide for how to stop binge eating at night. On this channel, you'll learn the science behind why you overeat and tangible take-home strategies that you can use to start improving your relationship with food and your body. If this sounds like just what you need, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell in the top right corner so you don't miss a video. I publish new videos every Wednesday. I'm Meredith MacKenzie of Parallel Wellness. I'm a registered clinical counselor and intuitive eating coach. I've helped hundreds of women who struggle with poor body image and feeling out of control with food to attune to their hunger and fullness cues so that they're able to have a better relationship with food, find food freedom, and move on to fully participate in their lives. Before we start, can I take some pressure off your shoulders and just validate how incredibly complicated and overwhelming binge eating is? One of, if not the reason that binge eating is so incredibly difficult to overcome is that there are so many factors, both biological, emotional, habitual, all these things that are going into play that just add layer after layer after layer to the binge eating experience. And it's not as simple as just, having the willpower and telling yourself not to do it and doing it. You can be motivated and well-intentioned and even, put a lot of time and effort into planning how you're not going to binge, and then it still happens. So please let me dispel this myth that willpower is going to be the solution to help you overcome your binge eating, because that's not true and it's absolutely not your fault. So let's break down why you binge eat. First, it's important to understand how your body naturally responds to hunger. When your body has finished digesting food and using up all of the energy from that specific meal or snack, the blood sugar levels and insulin levels in your body decrease. And then this causes your gut to release a chemical called ghrelin, which then sends a message up to the brain and says, hey, we need some more food here, and helps your brain start to produce something called neuropeptide Y. Now, this specific chemical then gets sent throughout your body and tells your body, hey, we need to look for some food, we need more nourishment, and so you start going on the prowl, going on the hunt for more food. Neuropeptide Y starts activating within the body and giving us that sensation of hunger. It causes the grumble in your tummy, it makes you feel hungry, and you look for food as a result. It kind of stimulates that behavior action on your part. Now, this is a normal biological response that happens in every human being, other animals as well, and it's designed to help you to find the nourishment that you need in order to sustain yourself. Now, another reason that you might be experiencing binge eating could be because you are restricting your intake. For many people who struggle with binge eating, restriction is part of that binge eating cycle. And this usually starts in the morning time or earlier in the day. So you might start your day saying, I'm not going to binge today. I'm going to be really careful with what I'm eating. And so restriction comes in many forms, because so many people will come to me and say, okay, yeah, I binge, but I definitely don't restrict. I'm not dieting anymore. I'm done with that. And it's important to understand how restriction can kind of come about and how your body and your mind experience that restriction. So the first is physically. You could physically be restricting yourself by not taking in enough food in a situation, having really small portions, by cutting out certain food groups or foods from your diet, telling yourself you're not allowed to eat certain things. Or on a mental side of things, you could say to yourself, yeah, I'm cool. I'm going to eat anything. I'm allowed to eat whatever I want. And yet at the same time, there's that lingering guilt in the background that says, yeah, I'm okay with eating everything, but I still want to lose weight, so I shouldn't be eating those things. And so that mental restriction still exists. And so you go throughout your day, and as the stressors of the day, and we'll talk about stress in a little bit, but as the day goes on, your body and your mind really want those foods. So like I said, restriction happens for a lot of people who struggle with binge eating. And if we consider how our body is designed to respond to hunger, when you restrict yourself in some way, then the body is going to respond by increasing the ghrelin, increasing the neuropeptide Y, and saying, okay, something's going on here. We're not getting the nourishment that we need. We need to increase all of these hormones so that this person gets into action. And so you might recognize that from yourself. You know, maybe it's at the end of a work day or end of a school day, and you come home and you haven't eaten enough in the day, and you're ravenous, and you are digging through the cupboards looking for anything to eat. And that's because you're really motivated by all these neurochemicals that are designed to get you to seek out and find food. Now we also want to bring in the emotional side of things and how that factors into why you binge eat. Deep within your brain, there's this part of your brain called the mesolimbic center, and it's responsible for processing pleasure and the sensation of pleasure that we experience. And food is a really pleasurable, or eating food is a really pleasurable experience. It causes the release of dopamine, which is a feel-good hormone. It's the exact same hormone that you release when you fall in love. So the same reason I could say I love myself a bag of cheesies. And so whenever you eat something, this reward system within your brain says, yeah, I like that. Let's get more of that. And it really motivates you to find those foods. So you might know, especially if you've struggled with binge eating currently or in the past, that you have a list of foods that are your go-to foods that make you feel good and that you really want them. And this is why so many people can consider or think that binge eating can be the cause of addiction, because yes, you are driven to have those things and it does make you feel good and there are chemicals involved, but it's a very natural and biologically, evolutionarily designed mechanism within your body to get you to eat those things. And really the complication, not addiction, is the society that we live in and the incredible accessibility that we have to all of these foods that are super high fat, super high calories, super high flavor, all of this over the top stuff that the mesolimbic center just loves. Now, let's back it up to the scenario that we had previously where you might have been restricting yourself, and so you haven't eaten enough throughout the day, and now you are home from work, home from school in the afternoon, or maybe it's you've eaten dinner, finally put the kids to bed, and you have some time to yourself, and you've had this restriction, and there's that physical hunger that's happening, that biological hunger, and then the emotional side comes out too. And so with both of those things playing in together, you're really feeling the urge to binge and to find those foods that just are going to make you feel good. If we consider as well that eating food causes the release of dopamine, when we're not eating enough or we're restricting ourselves or holding off and saying, I'm going to be good today, then the dopamine that we have within our bodies as well is decreasing. And so we have this deficit where we want to be able to meet that need to have the dopamine within our body that we need to function well. So not only is your body kind of revving up the ghrelin and the neuropeptide Y to really seek out food just for a nourishment standpoint, we also want to maintain our dopamine levels. And so from an emotional standpoint, the body is going to be looking for food in order to get that reward. So you might not recognize that, if you've had a day where you've restricted and you feel like you've done really well and you've been really good and you've been in control, that might, make you feel confident and in a good space, but you might not recognize that that's actually a huge danger zone that you've gotten yourself to, because it's really just setting you up for the rest of the evening and an occurrence of binge eating. But I wouldn't be making this video if that's where it all ended, right? So there's more to the situation. And what ends up happening are the biological factors and the emotional factors. They almost set up a series of dominoes that are all going to come tumbling down. So now you're in a position where you almost have the biological factors, the emotional factors, and they're just in line like a series of dominoes that if you just hit one of them, you're going to have this entire cascade that happens that ends up impacting you and causing you to binge eat. What often happens, and you might recognize for yourself, is that the more you restrict or the longer you restrict or the closer you get to binge eating, is that your mind starts thinking about food, and these thoughts about food are almost intrusive. The idea of food becomes more enticing, and so you might start thinking about how can you access food, what is the next thing that you can eat, I'll just have a little nibble of that. You're more likely to start grazing on things rather than making yourself a meal, and the intensity and the need for food just starts escalating. This might also be the time that you start planning your binge, if that is something that you experience. So you start thinking about how can I get my hands on these specific foods? How can I, find some time for myself where I can relax and I can engage in my binge eating practice? And so notice that as you start having these thoughts, that it's actually a signal that there's been something else happening earlier in the day, which is likely that restriction and that need for food, and that this is a really good time to tap into how your body is feeling and have a snack, have something that's going to be satiating, because that will bring down the intensity of those thoughts and that drive to set up a binge for yourself. So when we get it all together, we've got all these biological chemicals that are coming at you, right? The ghrelin, the neuropeptide Y, that are just saying food has to happen now. We're going to find it. We've got this grumbly tummy. We're action oriented. We're going to do it. And emotionally, we're feeling impacted where we really need that dopamine surge. And so we've got such an intensity going on towards the later part of the day for most people that is really just going to set up that binge cycle. Now, another factor I want you to consider is stress, and that you are likely stressed. And you might say, who isn't stressed these days? But stress plays a major factor in binge eating. And the majority of people that I talk to who experience binge eating would say, yes, I carry quite a bit of stress in my life. And for a lot of people, binge eating, particularly at the end of the day, can be an escape. It can be a moment to zone out, to numb out, to find distance from the stressful experiences of the day, and just have a little vacation to yourself. And so, not that binge eating is pleasant, but it is a way of coping with that stress that you're feeling and carrying. And as I've already said, there is a very strong link between the release of dopamine, that feel-good hormone, and binge eating. And so when you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, all of these kind of really unpleasant emotions, seeking out something that's going to cause you to have a release of dopamine and feel good and feel calm and at ease and comforted, it feels nice. So it's really natural that you're going to seek out something that's going to make you feel good when you're not feeling so good already. So now you have both this physical and emotional load hanging over you that makes binge eating so much more likely. Something else you might find is that binge eating has become a habit for you. It's something that you've done repeatedly over time, and it's almost kind of a go-to coping strategy in times of high stress or when you have that time to yourself. There's certain things that kind of lead up to it and trigger it for you. So whether that is, your partner leaving town, that you're able to have some time on your own, the kids going to bed at night, having some time to yourself after going out in the evening. There's usually a lot of situational experiences that people will tell me about that, kind of set them up and create the scenario that's really comforting and available for them to binge eat. So you might find that that's habitual for you as well. The way our brains work is that we have all kinds of neurons within our brain that help us to, make a decision and jump to something quickly. It's amazing how efficient our brains can be. However, similar to if you've ever been at a bus stop or you're going somewhere that's a high traffic area, often people do not stay on the sidewalk and follow the perpendicular corner. Instead, they cut across, right? They want to be efficient and they just go. And so if you are somebody who has struggled with binge eating over a longer period of time, you might find that in order to be efficient, you know it's going to kind of not cure, but make you feel better in that moment. You cut across. And you know that binging is going to be that thing. It can be incredibly uncomfortable to try to use the coping skills that you've been taught or that you've read about, because that means that you have to walk around the perpendicular side of the sidewalk. So recognize how powerful habit is and how it might feel very unnatural to try to shift away from binge eating, and that urge to continue with just the habit of binge eating is a part of that process of, I know how to make myself feel better, I'm just going to do it. Now, I know that binge eating is something that a lot of people don't talk about or like to talk about. It's not a pleasant conversation. And for many people, it's not something they've ever talked to anybody else about. So I really want this channel to be a resource for you to get the information that you need. If there is something that you've been really wondering about binge eating and you want the answer to it, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know so I can address it in a future video. Another big factor in why you binge eat is that you're probably not attuned to your hunger and fullness cues. And that is a big blanket statement. So first off, so many people that struggle with binge eating have also been victims to diet culture. And diet culture asks you to externalize all of those ideas and say, if I'm going to follow a specific plan for eating, I know that Women's Health magazine or a medical doctor who spoke to me one time, or somebody who gave me this plan. They know what I should be eating, not my body. I'm going to follow that plan. And you really externalize kind of the power and the autonomy that you have over your eating to something else. So that cuts off your hunger and fullness cues already, just by saying, I'm not going to trust my body. The other thing is that when people binge eat, like I said, you might want to dissociate, right? It's comforting to be able to kind of numb out, zone out, separate yourself from whatever it is that you're feeling throughout the day, that stress, and to just be with the food. And so people will describe feeling dissociated on various levels, either that you're kind of observing yourself eating and recognizing that it's happening but not being able to stop it, or that you're completely tuned out to it. Oftentimes as well, binge eating is paired up with some kind of distraction. So a lot of people find a lot of comfort with binge eating in front of the television or while scrolling on their phones. And so you're really not focusing on the eating that's happening, but you're focusing on, that media source that you're looking at. So as a result, you're quite distracted from any of those cues that your body might be sending you. Because you're distracted and you're tuned out, you're then not listening to the cues that your body's giving you when it's full or it's had enough or it's satisfied. Because of that, you might eat past your fullness, or you're more likely to eat past your fullness. The other piece is that when you're binge eating, oftentimes there's this urgency to eat, and so you might eat large quantities rather quickly, and it actually takes your stomach time for those sensory cells to be able to recognize that it's had enough food and to send this information to your brain, and then you can say, oh, okay, my tummy says that I've had enough. So frequently people will say to me, I eat and eat and eat, and then when my brain finally tells me that I'm full, I am so full and I'm so uncomfortably full. And that's because you haven't given your body time to catch up. Related to this, and this can be a really difficult part of binge eating that can be really hard for people, is that oftentimes people will say that they end up binge eating to punish themselves. So you feel that discomfort in your body. You start to have those thoughts, if I shouldn't have done this, but I did do it anyways. You start really beating up on yourself about it, and then you act by binging further, whether that is continuing in that specific situation, or this is where, binging over a couple of days can happen, because you can just kind of say, F it, I'm going to go for it. I've done all this wrong stuff to myself already. I'm just going to hurt myself further. So self-punishment can also be a factor in just disconnecting yourself from that attunement to your body, because it can be a situation where you're almost self-harming yourself. And now finally, and this is kind of just bringing the circle closed in this binge eating cycle, binge eating also happens because you are so hard on yourself. So after you've binged and you say, I shouldn't have done that, I'm so upset with myself with that I did that, you can start saying all kinds of horrible things to yourself. And this comes out in two ways. One, you start to feel as though you're not worthy, you feel like you can't trust yourself. It really impacts the relationship you have with yourself on a negative level. And it then can make you kind of double down and say, well, I can't do that again. I need to really make sure that I'm on top of my eating, and I'm going to be extra careful with all of this. And so that sets you up for more restriction the next time. And so those are 8 really big reasons why binge eating isn't as simple as having enough willpower not to binge. And I hope that, looking through those 8 reasons, you can find something that resonates with you, that you can relate to, that, really fits and you understand yourself better, because I really hope that you can leave this video with a better understanding of the reasons that you binge eat, and understand that it's so much more layered and complicated than just having the willpower to do it, or that you should be able to do it differently than how you are. I hope that you're walking away with more insight and a whole lot more self-compassion for yourself. If there's anything that I covered today that has you thinking about your own experience with binge eating in a different way, or has helped shift your mindset, I'd love to know. Comment in the comment section down below and let me know, because I really want to understand how these videos can help you better. Now, I have a freebie for you, like I promised at the beginning of the video, and if you are wanting to understand more about why you overeat and some of those factors that might be impacting you in your relationship with food, click the link in the description box down below and take the quiz. It's totally free to take and will help you have a lot more insight into what areas of eating you might need some work on. Now, if you're in a place where you're feeling ready to overcome your binge eating finally, and you're needing that little bit of extra support because you're recognizing that all of the strategies that you've tried before have just not worked, and you feel like you're going in a cycle over and over and over again, but you're ready to have greater attunement to your hunger and fullness cues, you need those strategies, you need that support, I am happy to announce that the doors are currently open to my One Body to Love program. And this is a small, intimate group for women who struggle with emotional eating, binge eating, and they want to find freedom from food. They want to have greater attunement with their bodies so that they can have that freedom to move forward and fully participate in their lives. So I invite you to click the link in the description box down below to book a call with me and just see if you're a good fit for the program. If doors are currently closed when you're watching this video, please still click the link below and put yourself on the wait list. If you found this video helpful, let me know by giving it a like and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss a video that I publish every Wednesday. Now go ahead and share this video with a friend or family member or anyone who you think could really benefit from knowing more about why binge eating happens and understanding that there's no fault, no personal fault on your part or their part in that process. I really hope that this can be a helpful video for more people in your life.